That's a nice way to refer to it, yes. Also, most importantly, copyright free. More important than anything else about that music. Best I've found so far, so. What's up, Noel? How's it going? Another week gone almost, which is pretty wild. Hey, Fitz. Chill club music. You know, at least it's not going to get in the way of any ideas. That's for sure. So I'm getting creative, or trying to, with my, let me switch to, because I'm going to want to move it out of the way a bunch, because I actually want to try laying out some tiles for a dungeon here. So I'm moving the wall of supporters onto something mobile. Northern Lights right now? If you're in the continental northern part of the US. It's a nice heads up. And there. Okay, great. Mobile, contained. Gonna have to build something for this, I think, at some point. Oops. Come back. There we go. Okay, keep that over there. Well, one person's Northern Lights is another person's light pollution, I guess. Okay. Oh, almost forgot the man of the hour. There we go. Okay. So what I think I'd like to do, or try to do, it's been a while since doing a preparing to fail stream. And so to get back into the spirit of the idea, and to do something that technically I don't think I've ever really done in this. I've got a bunch of tiles, and I'd really like to create a dungeon in concept that can be represented physically that's, I guess, more interesting than most of the dungeons I normally put together. I'm talking about something with height, multiple ways in, maybe some sort of strange loop, but there's a few things that I want to be true about it. Height is key, especially sort of within the same area. I think having like, oh, this space off in that area is up higher, like that's fine. Jesse V, welcome. Thanks for becoming a supporter. That's so awesome. Pause. Let me get you a brick. We pause everything for this occasion. Yeah. Welcome. Let me carve this guy up real quick. Oh, yeah. And I think I figured out a solution to our little confusing YouTube issue, but we'll see if that rears its ugly head again. Only supported to make me redo the brick wall. Hey, you can have your reasons. That's, I'm not going to complain about that. Even got me cutting foam on a non-crafting night. You exude so much power over me. I'm helpless. Something like That will fit. Scrap of foam. Who cares? Blade goes back up. Let's go. The foam is eternal. Yeah, it'll be here long after we're all gone. There we go. All right. Boom. Now you're in. It's gonna be the wall's gonna be floating around a lot tonight as I figure out how to best feature it on stream while doing other stuff. So I've got these Dwarven Forge tiles, which I'm going to use to sort of haphazardly kind of create some sort of configuration, some sort of room, or series of rooms, which is why I say this will probably move in now. I got this stuff, obviously it's not crafted, it's not my tiles. I actually don't have sort of stereotypical like gray or even colorful dungeon tiles with walls and things like that. But I want to at some point. But this is pretty helpful to represent ideas. So I'll probably be bouncing back and forth, not to me, to this screen just a little bit. And I was thinking about, like, if this makes sense, I want to come up with something that's like an actual gray dungeon. I think that I want something that has a justification for being completely shaped stonework that exists for some reason. It's not like, a part of some cave system, and it's not something super exotic. It's just like bog standard gray tiles, gray stonework, and what can we do with that idea? And there were some ideas that came to mind. So something like a everybody say wayo. Hi T. I don't know what that means, but how's it going? So maybe something maybe something like I don't know. Is this an idea? Undercroft? Does that mean something? Like it feels like it feels like it's a place. It's a song lyric. Oh, okay. Well, that's why I don't know it. The Undercroft is traditionally a cellar or a storage room, often brick-lined and vaulted, and used for storage in buildings since medieval times. So perfect. Okay, so that somewhere in my head that lodged is like that's one idea for a dungeon. I don't know what we would consider. Like a this even said it, like a cellar, something. What would you call like kind of deep in the bowels of like an old cathedral or something, like the space below that, like that was another thought. You like to think of the dungeon boss and work backward. I think we'll get to that. And that may be a good way to go with it. If it's the type of dungeon that has a boss. I don't think every dungeon necessarily has to have a boss. Could always fall back on the ruins of some unknown structure, especially kind of going off of that Outer Wilds inspiration. That could be a good reason for a dungeon to exist. And then whatever we pick, what was it? What is it now? And then, why is the party there? Always Outer Wilds inspiration every single time. because I think that the most interesting dungeons are always ones that sort of have a couple of transformations, right? So, for instance, if we use these earlier examples, you know, like a cellar or storage. It could be like a like the remains of a trader's post cellar long after the building above it is gone. Like it was a trader's the cellar of a trader's post. There was lots of items kind of moving in and out. Maybe this was along like a trade road, but they got kind of subverted by a new one. So that's what it used to be. What is it now? You know, perhaps it's been, you know, taken over by a what would be an interesting. It feels like that could be used as sort of like a bunker or sort of a makeshift shelter for some group. Or maybe it's not even makeshift. Maybe it's been built on top of the inside of a building, inside the stomach of a Tarrasque. Well, that'd be an answer to where is it now, or what is it now? Maybe there's been a guild hall built on top, and the lower secure, secret, hidden cellar is used for illegal activities. And then why is the party there? Because that's what it's used for. That's the secret, or that's the new life that this place has gained, and maybe the party is there because they could be trying to steal something. They could be trying to steal something back. Perhaps they're trying to rescue somebody, or perhaps they're trying to get information. Kind of like the idea of the party is attempting to steal back something. It could even be this would be a fun reveal, right? The party. Hey, what's up, NH3? Fables, how's it going? RPG Grandma. Trying to craft a dungeon here, just to kind of get back into it. It's been a long time, I feel like, since doing these what do I call it? Preparing to fail. These sort of session prep, DM prep, sort of design type of streams. And even within that, doing just like a simple, kind of compact, little interesting dungeon is not something that I've done in a while, even on these. So, yeah. So I kind of like this idea. Hey, what's up, Batista? Triforce, how's it going? So I'm kind of liking this idea. So, the old trading post cellar. I kind of like that idea. Cistern's a wonderful word. Everyone who's anyone is here late on a Thursday night brainstorming dungeons. It used to be let's call it the below ground, or it used to be the cellar of a trader's post back when the main back when the main roads came through. Back about before the new roads were built, and went around town, something like that. A former office for an MLM. T, you're translating a page of your elf's diary into a different alphabet. It's the coolest. Long ago. Nowadays, it's almost like it was more recently. Foundation was used to build up. Okay, kind of have to be some sort of a maybe some sort of like a guild of like historical preservation or something like that. Like they do like they're on the face of it, they're historians sort of working in service of kind of preserving history through what they collect or something like that. The Foundation was used to let's just call it a historians / like preservation guild, and largely forgotten about. Cellar became the Foundation. So right now it's an old gas station. It could be. Hey, Goose Revolt. I mean, as I'm going down this road, I'm falling out of love with this idea. I'm gonna go back and visit some other ones. Maybe we'll combine it. I do like the process though of like, what was it? What is it now? Why is the party there? Beneath a cathedral. I do like that word undercroft. Hey, Memo. I love so. An undercroft is traditionally a cellar or storage room, often brick-lined and vaulted and used for storage in buildings since medieval times. But, like, storage. Storage of what? Just because I like the word undercroft. I also like the idea of beneath a cathedral, but undercroft is, yeah, I think that's where I want to be. I think this is where I want to sit for a minute. Find something. Catacombs. So what I want to try to do, yeah, cask poster. So my goal here is I want a dungeon that is not a mix of anything, that can somehow just be sort of a gray dungeon-y dungeon, if that makes sense. If I was going to build it out with tiles, it'd be very straightforward to do it. And so in a sense, like, you know, storage of X becomes storage of Y, right? It could become I mean, what's the easy stuff? Like actually like you know, casks of wine and beer, but in the past, before it became this, it was storing something else. You know, maybe it's kind of back to that earlier idea, and maybe it was storing, you know, of illegal trade goods, an old dungeony dungeon that smells like a dungeon. Yeah, I know. I'm very articulate tonight. This is a good time to be. Hey, that's why I'm practicing. Getting back into the swing of this stream. I've been crafting foam for too long. It's like it's in my brain. Okay, so this fits better with what the party could be doing there, right? So at one point in the past, the let's see here. I'm only pausing because I'm getting way ahead of myself to see if it's going to be a fruitful path. The past, the Undercroft was full of hidden passages and secret compartments for hiding stolen and illegal goods for trading. Like basically a corrupt trading post or something like that. Poppy seeds to opium. Cellar now serves as a morgue. Like war's taken over and bodies for the floor now to be stored before burial at graveyards by mine because of spooky season. That's a good idea too. Yeah, I like the undead idea for sure. So before, this cavern or the Undercroft was full of hidden passages and secret compartments for hiding stolen and illegal goods for trading. So like the idea was that it used to be a trading post, but and there must have been guilds and people doing tricky things there or illegal things. Now all of that's gone, probably because now the main road now the main travel road goes around town, and the trading post is abandoned. Its new owner is now it's a tavern. And the cellar is filled with beer and wine because now it's a tavern. Beer and wine. Just checking that out in stream chat. I like it. I like the symbols. They're nice and simple, and like they look like each other. It's probably not too much of a pain to write, honestly. Like it feels like there's a flow to it. I like it. Good stuff. Hey, Ren. Mad typing. Oh, it's not easy to... That could be fun. But see, you guys are right. It is spooky season. So maybe something in a cathedral where bodies are buried would be more fitting. before. Now, party is there because. So it feels like the cathedral could have been either good in the past and is bad now, or bad in the past and is good now, right? That kind of feels like the obvious way to go, where if there are bodies buried below the cathedral, you know, put to rest, they've got to be coming back for some reason, either because they've been disturbed or because they, well, either because they were sort of planted there to wreak havoc eventually, or because they were peaceful and are now being called forth to cause trouble now. Kind of feels like it's more fun. So long ago, the cathedral was under. How do we phrase this? Long ago, a dark priest ran. What's the word for like enacted rituals to. Yes, Jesse, absolutely. Give that to you there. Old shrine used for blessings, now it emits a curse that seeps into the bodies laid to rest there. I like that, Batista. An old shrine used for blessing, and now it emits a curse. Perhaps like a, how about this? How about so long ago, a dark priest of the well, most things can be twisted and seen either way. I don't want it to be as simple as luck, because luck is I think I just hear but maybe like a god of fortitude, or perhaps of my fallback, or the one that I've used in one of my campaigns, is sort of like a self sufficiency, or like almost a what did I call him? It's not coming to mind now. A dark priest, long ago, a dark priest twisted the rites and rituals of the cathedral, and used its influence to cast curses and try to, of course, let's just say he was trying to become a refuge for vampires. Corrupted future. Well, I like the idea of it, like perhaps like it was, and this is also very, very Zelda-esque, right? Where there was this dark influence. Now the building has long been cleansed. Its reputation in the region corrected. Good question. I haven't populated as much time as I want, but I do have some. Did I make that? Is that a thing? Wait. Yes, I did make that a thing. Yes. Yeah, the plan is to do, I think I have Friday and Saturday back-to-back Outer Wilds, trying to power through that. So we'll see how that goes. And that's where I keep my stream schedule generally, and I'll figure out what next week looks like and keep plotting and planning it out so we can start getting some other content on stream. It'll be fun. See you, T. Caffeinating and attending? Great. I look forward to it. Now the building has long been cleansed, its reputation in the region corrected. And few people even remember the trouble. Remember the Dark Priest. The party is there because what if the what if the Undercroft of this, I'm just gonna keep using that word. What if the depths of this cathedral have only become accessible due to some either like earthquake or some like natural event? Is there because recently an earthquake seemed to reveal a lower portion of the cathedral that was how about that was it was never this isn't the right wording, but never part of the building plans, right? Since the depths were discovered, strange things have been happening. Okay, this is a fun concept, right? Because basically this gives us a decent sort of premise for building a set of rooms. This is basically it's basically a little bit of Zelda and a little bit of corner penthouse of Spook Central, right, from Ghostbusters. It could have, exactly. Breaking the seal. Did it break the seal, or has the final curse finally taken hold, right? Oh yeah, definitely going undead, going necromancy, going all of that. So if the in the Ghostbusters sense, the Dark Priest long ago, right, had kind of built himself a backup plan in case things didn't work out. Maybe he was trying to take over politically, or maybe he was trying to take over the world or become a lich, or who knows what crazy plans he had. But if that didn't work, they tunneled down and sort of created this secret location underneath, and maybe it's sort of been gaining this residual power over time. And so it's a ritual chamber, but is it clear that it's a ritual chamber? And how it's all built together can be part of the fun, I think. Okay, I like this idea. Let's run with this. Good ideas, you guys. You guys have good ideas. Part of me is thinking, what if the zombies undead are the good ones, like they're trying to help? I'm thinking a la Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island. Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island. I don't know if I have that like necessarily in my head as like a cultural touchstone to reference, so I'm a little bit at a loss there, but I get what you're putting down. How about, so the reason we like Long Ago and the reason we like Nearly Forgotten, like it's almost passed off into legend, like what was really going on. Maybe in reality, the Dark Priest needs a name. The Dark Priest was actually misunderstood. Yes, he was abusing the rights and rituals he had access to, but it was to stop a greater evil from blah blah blah. So that gives us the fun twist of like you know, this guy does seem bad. Maybe he's coming back. Maybe there's these forces. Like, how do we stop this ritual? But the cool part is either way it works, it's good, right? Either way it works, it's interesting, because if they stop him from coming back, that gives like a fun punch to the end of that session or the end of that one shot or whatever it is. And if they are successful in, if they are successful in stopping him, he can sort of curse them, because now his plan to come back and stop this greater evil has been thwarted. Or if they're unsuccessful and he does return, then he's like, great, now, you know, put your antiquated ideas about what is good and evil aside. You need to help me stop whatever's actually emerging from the ground in front of, like, the reason for the earthquake, the reason for this, these ritual rooms becoming accessible again, is because that was sort of the safety, right? If they stop me, it's almost like it's like a good Dr. Frankenstein or something like that. Or was Dr. Frankenstein evil? I guess he kind of was, right? Frankenstein's monster was okay, depending on the movie, but Dr. Frankenstein was probably a bad dude. It's been a while since I've watched it, but if he was concocting a plan, you know, Bob the Dark Priest, his backup plan was like, okay, if these idiots can't see what I'm doing, right? If they vanquish me, then this will, if what I'm preparing for ever does come about. And he was so far ahead of the game that it took hundreds of years before this threat ever actually began to escape. All of this is behind the scenes. Obviously, this isn't even necessarily okay. So now we have what's in the dungeon. How do you access the dungeon? Didn't Dr. Frankenstein want to bring his brother? I honestly, like, I think I mentioned it recently, like watching old monster movies this month. I need to do that. Demi Lich. Yeah, I mean, can you try to make yourself a lich for like noble purposes? Is that a thing? Could you be like, listen, I have to be a lich because I need to stop this like worse evil from coming around? Like, I don't know that people generally, you know, try to get away with that, but we could. This is really like what sort of rooms and what are the rooms in the dungeon for? I think that's what I'd rather ask. Magic drives them insane. Yeah, I'm not even sure. I like the idea of a dungeon, like the hallways of the dungeon, that sort of, it's probably a fairly complex ritual, right? Like it's like a time lock release summoning spell. I would say the broken passage, or what would I say? The passage broken apart by the earthquake that revealed the abandoned they called Futurama and Simpsons classic TV. Dang. Oof. Yeah. But I mean, you know, time waits for nobody, right? It is what it is. I still remember Nick at Night. Remember watching stuff that wasn't really old unless it was in black and white. That's not really the case anymore. Jesse V, I like that. I like that. Ooh, just the discovery that the one of the rooms actually, or maybe like a device. One of the rooms actually caused the original earthquake. That'd be a really fun discovery. Maybe like, well, depending on how we design the dungeon. Revealed. Would it be? I feel like it would be fun to have multiple passages in, even though like this is like just been like broken. Like obviously we could have multiple locations where there's a way in, and maybe that's the answer. Multiple passages revealed by the earthquake. So maybe something that's like definitely a button. I feel like that would be like in the notes, right? Where it's like back and forth between the priests trying to figure out how to do that. It's like, what do you think? I can just make a button that says earthquake, and it's like they blow the dust off of it, and there's like this stone little thing that's like, it kind of is just like an earthquake button. That is what they ended up making. I'm not sure, well, to come back to this idea, but I like the idea of multiple ways in. And I think we're going to have to go with just repeating the idea of like there were multiple, you know, there are multiple locations, maybe one that is near some place that seems like it could be safer, and another place that seems like riskier, and we can figure out where those are in the dungeon as we go. In terms of dangers lurking. Yeah, some fun little his name was Button. That's good. That's my type of dungeon humor. Really, all the times he said, you know, push the button, was just him telling his other assistants to be mean, right? Just keep pushing Button around. Like, that's not nice. Leave him alone. So certainly we can have some undead / reanimated. What's the difference? Followers of the Dark Priest. I think the whole thing. I think there would be traps. I feel like it would be if this is being set up to potentially like protect the world, right? It's like we're going to put this in place, and we need to keep anybody from tampering. Hey, what's up, Pixel Frogger? Welcome. We are designing a little dungeon right now. This beneath the cathedral, a place that basically a time release ritual room. Driders come to mind. I mean, that definitely fits with the spooky season. It feels like it'd be fun to have runic circles, curse scrolls. It'd be fun to have like something down there that sort of thrives and can live for a very long time. It could be some stuff that's like nobody's actually seen one of these for a long time. It's been so long. Like either something that's sort of mutated. It could be to stop Orcus. drop in whatever named things work in a game. Like, I think it's a maybe something that can feed off of like residual, feed off the residual magic from wards. That could be kind of interesting. Like, it's dangerous. Like something has, that could even be, it could have even been like a you know, familiar of the Dark Priest that's grown a lot over the years, right? Like, to be a fun, like, another way of sort of indicating the passage of time, and then that could be basically anything, right? Because it's like the familiar was left. I feel like the folly of, like, the folly of the Dark Priest was that they had plenty of time to prepare. You know, such hasty actions were never necessary. I feel like building this like backup plan was because they thought it was like any day. Like they had to throw caution to the wind, right? For all of this. Magical leeches, yeah, I like that. Or something effectively like a magical leech. Throw that on there too. Yeah, good ideas. Okay. Yeah, so the Dark Priest, I think they would have thought that like they'll be, even when being killed, however that must have happened, who knows. I think they would have believed like they'll be back in like a month tops. So now there's definitely a, you know, some sort of summoning chamber to bring the Dark Priest back to fight off a greater evil. Thinking of the Pride Demons. So the Morizai? I need to look that up. Morizai. Well, these guys look awesome. Let's see, they were similar to ghouls. What made them particularly more dangerous was that by consuming the flesh of the recently deceased, they could absorb the experience and memories, of their victims. They're fiends. Okay, so, hey, honestly, that's super helpful here. If the followers of the Dark Priest at the time thought that they were going to be bringing back, like that it was all going to be triggered, the wards and things were going to come back really quickly, they might like not have taken a lot of precautions for like long-term wait. They may have thought like, we're going to seal up these tombs, this set of chambers basically, but they thought it wouldn't be very long at all. But since it was, and them being sort of clerics, sort of decaying there, that would make sense that would draw out some sort of like a fiendish in that sense. Like you could almost have could it carry their knowledge of the past events, maybe even casting like, you know, some sort of creature specifically on these clerics to have been sort of could have been its sustenance for a really long time. Jesse, I think so. I think that's definitely what there would definitely need to be sort of a ceiling chamber, or chambers, I'm overusing it, but ceiling room, or like a I'm thinking of like a magical airlock, like a magical, like this could be one of the rooms that they could drop down into and basically see, like, now that they're in it, like, okay, this is a warded room, but we can get through this next door now. Batista, that's a good question. And I think that, I think for the purposes of this dungeon, it doesn't really matter, because I think that becomes a final reveal, right? The final twist, which we can have allusions to or clues to, is that this dark priest was actually misunderstood and was trying to protect the world. Actually, he wasn't trying to, or they weren't trying to enact something themselves. Oh no. Oh no, Jesse. I guess we do have that to contend with too. There's also then the, a room where the followers were laid to rest. Maybe a study? Like, would there be like a room where they would have had, both tomes and sort of their work was probably laid out. This is where they would have concocted many of the wards. Probably some sort of like a that could contain, actually, that could contain that. So summoning chamber, that actually brings the dark priest forward. Ceiling room, a room where the followers themselves were laid to rest. A study, so we've got like 4 kind of locations, like the mage's personal quarters. Maybe. I wonder if there's something else. I wonder if there's something else that should be there. Because I wonder if this would be like I don't imagine them necessarily living down here. Right? Storage of relics could be. Oh. There would be like a there'd be a small armory. Remember, they're like, especially the dark priest, like a like an arcane army. There would be a room for, it's like, again, they're expecting to come back and then basically go to war, right? They're expecting to go to battles. They're going to go in and like grab their mace, grab their armor, like that stuff would be basically prepared. This is almost like a firehouse, right? Where once they're called upon, they're jumping into action. Construct. Sorry to hear that. Refectory is a dining room for monks, but it sounds like a good name for a ward's workshop. It's true. Sometimes words just sound like something different. Batista bathrooms. Hey, Loops. How's it going? Okay. I like this. I like these. I like these ideas. Hey, Matisse. We are building a little dungeon. So a set of rooms, in this case, beneath a cathedral, where long ago there was a dark priest that, as the story goes, sort of twisted the rites and rituals of the cathedral that they served in, and they were using its influence to cast curses, and basically became no good at all. They were defeated a long time ago. Now, the building is, sort of under new management for many, many years. Everything's been cleansed. The reputation of the region is corrected, and few people even remember the Dark Priest's name. And the party is called in because an earthquake has revealed a lower portion of the cathedral that was never part of the building plans. Very sort of, we're hitting on some like Halloween / Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is actually a plenty good Halloween movie. So basically, like, it's been so long that people are sort of reeling and sort of kind of rediscovering the fact that their pleasant little temple or cathedral is a corner penthouse at Spook Central, right? Since the depths were discovered, strange things have started happening. We don't really care what those are for these purposes. We'll skip that, breaking the seal. In reality, the Dark Priest was misunderstood in their time. You know, they were abusing the rites and rituals, yes. But it was to stop a greater evil. So the fun part about that, and the folly of the Dark Priest being that they had plenty of time to prepare, but took hasty actions instead. Loop's brainstorm phase? Yeah, totally. Brainstorming, and like, I want to actually piece together. I have some Dwarven Forge tiles here to actually kind of maybe try to piece together what this might look like. Because I want something with like levels, and I want it to be an interesting, almost like arena dungeon, I feel like something that could actually fit all on the table type of thing. And so the fun of this is that it gives the party the opportunity to sort of uncover all of this by exploring these rooms. And we can also create a sort of summoning, you know, encounter where if they stop the ritual and the priest is basically kind of half returned but begins to fade away, can basically say, you idiots, the reason I'm being recalled is because this was a safety in check. Like, upstairs right now, no doubt in town, it's being decimated by this dark evil. Like, that's what the earthquake was. That's what I'm coming back to stop. Or if they quote unquote fail and the Dark Priest returns, the Dark Priest can be like, we don't have a fight, you know, grab my mace, like, you guys can help me, we got to go upstairs and stop this evil or whatever. Hey, Church of Doom, what a fitting topic for you to swing by on. Listening while I do some world building, love a misunderstood priest. I mean, who doesn't, right? Matisse, I think what we kind of landed on was that the rooms below the cathedral, like deep below, were sort of created by the Dark Priest as a safety, right? Like, this is the firehouse that in case they destroy me, this will basically bring us all, or bring me back when the darkness comes. And so the earthquake could either be as a result of that evil coming, or probably more probably more reasonable, there is part of the ward down in the dungeon itself is triggering the earthquake because the being has entered this plane of existence or is approaching. And so as a result, it basically starts to like kind of break through the protective barrier, which has like collapsed a hallway, and allows the party in to investigate. Having a sentient weapon with the soul of the priest could be fun. That's true. Maybe that's even like a last ditch effort to like keep their knowledge around. Yeah. So I like all of that. I like these ideas. Let's see. Church of Doom, you have some fans in the room. All right. We'll just see if we can tuck that there for a minute. I want to tinker with some room layouts. Church of Doom, by the way, if you guys haven't checked out churches, would you prefer churches or dooms? I don't know which sounds better, right? But their channel's got a bunch of great stuff on it, and this may be a silly way to brainstorm this stuff, but I'm wondering if everything can be represented physically in a fairly compact area, possibly even with some height. And while we've been talking about this, I've sort of been imagining it. Noel, his Insta is great. I agree. So it kind of feels like a summoning chamber is what could be sort of raised up. Possibly with access, like maybe it's sort of like a main room, and all of the other rooms sort of come off of it in some way, right? So if that is sort of the, let's see here, this will represent the summoning chamber at the center. Cuts are from work, Triforce? Of course they are. Who could have thought anything other? Not a fan of gloves? Well, who'd have thunk it, right? Who could have guessed? Okay. Messing with Dwarven Forge, I might as well benefit from Citrays. A goth church? I mean, stranger things have happened. So maybe it's not even necessarily a room as much as it is sort of a raised area, like the entire dungeon is sort of based around this idea. Like, you're evolving your hands into gloves. Yeah, okay. It's a bold move. Let's see how it works out for you, I guess. You keep us updated on how that move goes. It is sort of body horror, isn't it? True. Okay. So, sort of a raised area. And that's where the ritual is occurring. Do I follow? Well, my setup is a bit less life-threatening, generally speaking. Generally speaking, I mean, I still work with blades and stuff like that, but. Gotta grab bin number 2. Bin number 1 is insufficient. Fun variety in here. I've got some other ones to... Cool. Okay, where was my... Not gonna get it. That's fine. We'll just work around that idea. It's most of the month around. Hey, Atticus, welcome. Most of the month? Probably not. So this stuff came from years ago on Facebook Marketplace, of all places, and it was a fine deal. I use it rarely, but it's one of those things where once you have it, there's really no reason to ever get rid of it. So here it is. Okay. So some sort of chamber. See, these curved walls feel very study to me. You know? I like that. Ignore the old and new different tile stuff from Dwarven Forge. It is whatever. Very easily be a room there. I can put this on a thing. Well, I could just say that I think the most that I've ever spent with the Dwarven Forge company is their terrain trays, because they're just magnetic trays that work for any type of tile. It's pretty much nothing like them. I've tried to make my own, and it's a pain. So yeah, not so much tiles, but definitely these. Gimme. 3D printing or cardboard or any other way to make dungeon tiles? It's a good question. Whole thing shaped like a rune? I like that idea. Definitely. So if we want to make good use of the space, it's smart to sort of reuse the walls in a sense. Which is tricky with those curved walls. I know there's probably pieces that will fit, but just have to live with the gaps a little bit, the imperfections. But it'll save us some trouble. So my ulterior motive for what we're doing here is I want to, over time, gather some simple little dungeons, ideally that we can come up with on stream, as test rooms or test dungeons for different tile systems. I want to explore my own tile system. But before I decide on what I want to do, I want to try out some others' tile systems. And unless you have a good dungeon to try out a tile system with, like a simple thing, it's hard to know how much to make. And I know if I don't have a purpose, I'll make way too much, which you guys can probably imagine. So this will be eventually crafted, and then we'll make a few other dungeons, and each tile set that I want to experiment with, I'll build a dungeon for. Cheap wooden blocks. That's true. Yeah, Jenga blocks are another source. Okay, so like this snakes around. This kind of feels like one way in. This feels like a chamber. Sorry, brick wall. Brick wall has to move for a moment. And this idea may, I mean, the whole building process here may fail compared to if I was just drawing this out. That might be better, but give it a shot. Wall cam. Yeah, that may be a necessity. So let's see, we've got locked doors. That makes sense. Yeah, foam core, especially like stacking foam core, like you can absolutely make stuff out of that. No problem at all. Tiles and whatever else, totally possible. Okay, so I think that I feel like this becomes, and maybe it's too small, maybe it's just right. This becomes either a room that was used for tomes and resources. Maybe this is also a place where like the earthquake was summoned from. That feels like that room there. So I think that sort of the collapsed airlock area that you could enter in comes in over here with a door that is in theory accessible. Sorry, that's cut off a little bit by chat. So this is one way in. And this would be a raised platform that wouldn't be accessible, maybe, necessarily, but this would be... let's see here. Gotta have multiple routes, right? Multiple ways around. Okay. Not me. So the summoning chamber feels like the raised platform. That's sort of where the ritual occurs. Does the divinity of this dark priest have a theme like war, blood, or void? Yeah, I don't see why not. From a lore perspective, ideally something that could be sort of twisted either way, like a different version of, you know, so something like love or even war might be too simple, but some concept of fortitude or maybe will, right? Almost kind of justice or purpose. I'm not entirely sure on that. I think that could go a couple different ways. So summoning chamber, sealing room, the study, that all works. So I think the two pieces needed, and again, I'm sort of making this a smaller version, but just as a tiny representation. Pride could work. Did the Dark Priest get corrupted by fighting off the great evil? I think, like, maybe not corrupted in the sense that is typically used, but like fear, right? Maybe that plays into it a little bit. But I think like it's a tricky thing because I think the conceit of the dungeon is almost that he was right, or the priest, they were right. They were just wrong on the timing, right? Because all of this was done throwing caution to the wind, couldn't ask permission, couldn't get other people involved, like had to make a lot of risks, probably had to do some bad stuff. Was it corruption? Was it just being, you know, call it what you will, being efficient? It's probably a bad way to reference it, but let's see. So I think I want to build in then the armory and the burial room, or at least the room where Hansel Schwarzwald. Is that how I'd say that? Ooh, this is also going back to the idea of building this in such a way that I have a reason to mimic it in future systems. This one has like a fake wall. So that's probably better than the door. That's your magical airlock wall right there. Let's see. Some sort of a... You always need more walls. Never enough. I know there are more. there must be a cursed third tub. Full name every time, just to make me say it, or whoever say it. Because I feel like the bulk of this space over here, like that's probably not enough for an armory, although maybe. But I feel like the chambers that contain the followers would be large, because we would want a bunch of those. And a bunch of those guys. Let's share that wall. Well, I like that, Matisse. It sounds better now that you explain the purpose behind. Not that I didn't really like it before, but I like it even more now. It's not bad for slapping something together. Pass up the opportunity to drop in some scatter. Okay. Also, a bit more fun rather than just watching me throw together a dungeon design or a dungeon layout with tiles. I can say for my purposes, a dungeon this size is rarely good enough for me. I usually want a lot more space. This I would consider like a micro version of whatever this actually ends up being. So let's see here. So this is mine carts and tracks, which we don't need. Beds. Maybe a throne. I don't know if this guy would have a throne. But we could definitely throw in some old beds where those guys would be. Probably would need to expand it. I've got some like tombs and stuff like that just to represent something here. I've got a stereotypical like mummy's casket there. Just put that up on the platform. Well, the hidden door is fun, and then it's like, ooh, I want to make something even better out of foam, you know. All right, what else do I have in here? Let's see. Here we've got just a bunch of statues, which are always nice. Statues can be useful for all sorts of things. Some pedestals. Probably something like that could contain the, what triggered the, maybe something goes there that, yeah, I agree. Well, part of it, like when I think about, what it'll mean to actually go through the process of like when I think about what it's going to mean to actually make my own dungeon tile set, it's going to take me a long time, because if I'm going to kind of decide on like my core set, I'm going to need to know it's something that can sort of be adaptable in a bunch of different ways that I can add stuff to, like deciding on, is it a 3x3 grid? Is it a larger 6x6? Like I said, I tend to prefer a little bit more room to work with, not only because then I can fit more stuff, but it's easier to move things around. It's actually pretty rare that I'll have an entire dungeon laid out exactly for this reason. Let's see here. We've got some pillars. We've got some nooks here that I could toss some of these into. They're not bad. I painted those a long time ago. They still totally work. And hey, I've got four spots, so that's where those can go. Like I said, like tombs, maybe more fitting than beds. Maybe the beds are actually like they were sleeping in shifts and working on things, or maybe that's in the armory. See what I mean about these spaces being a bit claustrophobic. Yeah, like I like the idea of having something that just throw a couple of those in there. That seems fitting. What else? Now I could always you know, these pillars versus these guys that have these like orbs on the top, like this actually feels probably more appropriate for pillars surrounding some sort of summoning dais, summoning platform. So let's put these guys in the corners instead. Somehow these are necessary. Yeah, these orbs. Cool. So, treasure piles, chests, certainly could have something like that. Simple chest in like the armory. Transparent sheets with summoning circles. I might have something like that. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, okay. Maybe it was some sort of a concoction. Some sort of a brew in a pot that actually triggered the earthquake. All sorts of fancy stuff. Got these. That might actually be better. Hey, thanks, Loops. Probably I mean, could or could not. I don't know. Matisse. I'm not sure if it's actually necessary. If this is the like, I'd probably just add some rubble to a room, which I have plenty of that. So I'd probably do that actually. Thanks for the Discord link. Appreciate that. Some more natural stuff. There are some kind of poorly painted corpses that, you know, get the job done. Some of them are a little big. Otherwise, some nature, some natural stuff that's probably not gonna help out too much here. Let's see. Kind of like the idea I think somebody threw out there of these beds are becoming more and more stupid. Could be an animated weapon or two, right? Like they were armory weapons, but now they're actually like fully animated and floating around. Cool, Loops. Glad you made it over there. Batista might be cool to have a Full Metal Alchemist-like rule that summons needed an equivalent exchange, hence the extra tombs might explain how they made such powerful magic self-sacrifice. Yeah. Crazy, Matisse, I know. those numbers, they just keep on going up. Where the heck were the beds? Over here. Okay. I like this. So maybe a little bit technical, but it certainly sells some kind of arcane lab. I like the equivalent exchange idea. That absolutely makes sense. Like, and they would fully expect that they'd be coming back. They're like, look, we're going to be dead for like a month tops. Right? Yeah, speaking of rubble and wreckage, so I would throw that into a hallway over here. Sort of indicate that this is like the collapsed area that they start in. Seeing it all laid out like this, I feel like it could also be possible that there would be like a wreck, like a way in, maybe over in the armory. That'd be a fun place to start. Sorry, let me get this, move this to the side for a moment because I think I want to extend over there, if I can. If I have the pieces to do it. Sacrifice loophole. The nice part about there being two ways in is it gives the player some choice even as they enter the dungeon, but there can also be sort of a hint, like, you know, floating weapons could be found anywhere in the dungeon. You come in through here, maybe the weapons are shown, like the wall is dusty and the weapons are missing, but it's a fairly recent occurrence. Maybe it looks like they were there for a long time, but somebody has them now, like they've been retrieved. Let's see if I have anything else that calls for a use case here. I mean, just bunches of like, can always toss around some candles. Gives you things to mysteriously light up. Got some like storage shelves. It's never a bad idea. I think I had some stuff like that. Probably would be a little bit of that in the armory. It's probably where you can tuck some extra supplies. Presumably then, like I said, like this is a miniature version of the concept of the design, whereas I think it could be expanded on quite a bit and become a little bit more fun and interesting with like this could, like, each of these things could probably fill this space with more interesting stuff going on, especially more room for, you know, stairs coming up from different directions, indications of like locations for things to be triggered. But this is serviceable. Like, you could play a session in this space. There's lots to explore, lots to want to try to understand. Sometimes it's a good thing to sort of cram everything into a tight space. Yeah. So let's tighten this thing up now. Yeah, no, all of these corpses that I created are just miniatures that I decided were in a pose, or I think I might have cut some of them and molded them like face down into a pose that would work. So it's, yeah, depending on how many, like I had a bunch of like kind of crappy cultist minis from some like board game that I knew I wasn't going to use for anything else. Okay, so collapsed, like, how about the ceiling? Ceiling? Or like it's like the warded. How about the warded entrance, which is collapsed? That's the one room, and then the preparation, or like some sort of, it's almost gone a little bit like laboratory-esque. Maybe it's, we were talking like Dr. Frankenstein and stuff like that. It's almost more of like a potion room, right? Call it like an arcane lab for now. And then there is the summoning dais, or like it's a raised platform. But then there is the armory, which is also collapsed, and the, what did I call it? Where those guys are entombed. Small arcane, small study room where the followers are related, like the resting. So I kind of like this idea. Okay, so I'm gonna throw some stuff out here too, like let's say outside the dungeon, or like, you know, above ground. Oh, good idea. Yeah, corpses or pieces of corpses, right? If you don't have, I didn't call this out with some of the stuff, but I have like little flower, like you can also kind of make almost like status indicators, or like, because of Jesse, thought I meant ceiling room. But you can basically make like, you know, you could technically take pieces and parts of minis and make them body parts on like smaller bases as well. I don't know, actually, I don't know if WizKids are including those tiny little bases anymore, but those are always really useful for putting little tiny things on and creating sort of like token markers. So there could be enchanted, or what we call it, we'd probably call it like animated cleric's weapons attacking people above ground. And this was from the collapsed armory. I guess I don't want, well, do I want it? Yeah, from the... So I think it'd be neat if the intention, let me switch back and forth a little bit. I think it would be neat if the intention was, this is the warded entrance. They're like, this is where all of this was concocted to trigger a way in. What they didn't expect was that there would also be a way in over in the armory. So as a result, again, of their sort of like slapdash approach, it released sort of animated weapons that have sort of wreaked havoc on the town. Sort of an unintended consequence. Probably an undead, from undead follower of the Dark Priest, escaped the warded entrance and attacked people in the cathedral, let's say. Batista, the arcane lab could be the magisterium. I like the word. Big fancy word. Magisterium. That's a word of the day. Magisterium. The teaching authority. Interesting. Good call. In the actual, like, climbing down into the collapsed warded entrance, I think it's key that the rubble, the stones in the rubble all seem to be lined with all seem to be glowing with magic, due to the this was meant to collapse, and each stone was expected to fall at some point. Yeah. Was the goal of the priest to keep people away? I think the goal was to so to some extent what's going on here is that the priest, in a sense, is like, what if the Wizard of Oz was right, or what if what he was doing was true and correct. So I think that this is sort of a safety. This location is only secret because if they defeat him in his outward attempts to, in his mind, protect everyone, if they kill him, then this is the safeguard. So the safeguard has to be hidden, but when the time comes and he's being summoned, like, they're at that point, if all goes to plan, which everything hasn't gone to plan because it didn't all work great, because it's been too long. It's been a really long time, so what was supposed to be, like, basically the hallway detonates as he's summoning and sort of walks out to go to war with some bigger evil. It never happened. Or it's taking a lot longer because it's been probably like hundreds of years. Hidden doorway that responds to the same magic as the stones. Should be almost inviting. Yeah, I don't think at the point where the ward has where it's triggered, I don't think at this point anybody's trying to be kept out necessarily. So definitely there would be signs that a ritual ward was the recently went off. I haven't watched any of that yet, Construct, but I've heard good stuff, and it's definitely on the list. Maybe I can get into some of it this weekend. Rituals to summon the Dark Priest. Rituals to bring back Dark Priest's followers. Both rituals indicate I still have the Disney Plus that's like grandfathered into no ads. I don't think I have any ads on that yet for like another little bit. Like maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to check it. Because we invested in the long-term plan when Disney Plus first launched. Like one of them, I don't remember which one, but we have kids and we're like, we're never not gonna want to watch Disney stuff. So it made sense at the time, but I'll have to see what's still in place. Both rituals indicate that the expectation was that they would all be gone for only a little while. The summoning dais is flickering candles, orbs, very slowly sparking to life and materializing a form on the pedestal. No ads is pretty expensive now. Oh, geez. Thanks for the heads up. I'll have to look into that. Some sort of mechanism. Some sort of mechanism to allow the party to prevent the ritual from being completed. Alright, the collapsed armory would probably have animated weapon floating about, supplies that have gone bad, but would have been okay for a few months based on the labels. Chest full of the Dark Priest's weapons and armor. Followers of the Dark Priest in various states of construct. I need to update that, but it doesn't matter because we're still playing the game we've been playing. We're still playing that this weekend. Outer Wilds. Brain is cooked. Follows the Dark Priest in various states of decay. It's the T game. It's honestly been super interesting. It's helping me with one of my games right now to sort of get in the mindset of like discovering, like one of my parties is basically uncovering like the remains of like a research team, and that's a lot of what it feels like you're sort of uncovering in Outer Wilds as you sort of learn things. So I don't really have any traps or any like obvious places where traps would be placed, and I'm not sure, given where this idea has gone, I'm not sure whether it even makes sense to do them, because it's not like the protective nature of it is that it's basically inaccessible to anybody above ground. It's unknown to anybody that this even exists beneath the cathedral itself. So I'm not sure that kind of stuff would be necessary. Yeah. What setting is my game? Is it high fantasy? I don't really think so. I don't think I would classify it as high fantasy. I would say it's like earnest. I don't know. I don't know what it's my world, and magic certainly exists. I would say like I'm not crazy about lots of high level magic. If that's going to exist, it's going to be rare. Not that I would consider it a low magic setting, because players can get super powerful. It's just magic is not the most common thing in my game. So I guess that would just be, yeah, it's a low magic setting. I like it. I like this little thing. I like this little dungeon. And then I would say that my advice when it comes to the ending of something, whether that's combat or a puzzle or whatever, is to make sure that there is a fun way if the party is successful. It's not a good way to phrase it. How about a fun outcome if the party wins? Fun outcome if the party loses. And something odd. So, like, one of the traps that I feel like dungeon masters fall into when we're designing things is we say, okay, here's the big boss, or here's the mini boss, or here's the dungeon, whatever, and here's this ritual. Like in this case, there's a ritual that we're wanting to have the party try to stop. Okay, well, if the party stops it, that's probably what I would expect to happen. But what if the party doesn't stop it? And this is where I think DMs can trap themselves, because if we don't think about that ahead of time and we find ourselves in that position, it's like, oh, I guess you guys just lose. And it's like, okay, well, you could do that, or we could think ahead of time of like what could occur. And maybe it doesn't have to be losing. Maybe it's just a different type of outcome, and then that can prevent us from being stuck. And then something odd can be, okay, well, what's a weird thing that could happen? Because parties tend to either be wildly successful, wildly unsuccessful, or they just do weird things that you didn't predict. And if you have these three ideas in your head, then usually you're going to be able to come up with something on the spot that fits best. Hey, Royanna, is that Obsidian? No, this is Ulysses, but I've heard good things about Obsidian. Collapse the dungeon if the party loses. So this dungeon is about finding the tomb and fighting the stuff inside. I think this dungeon is about uncovering why it exists. CNOL, it's not just about fighting the stuff inside. It's about what's going on, what's being summoned, and ultimately uncovering that there was a purpose behind all of this that's sort of been lost to time because nobody believed in what this Dark Priest was saying back then. So if the party wins, that means the party prevents the Dark Priest from being summoned. In that case, the priest will curse the party and tell them they are now on their own with the monster that is no doubt attacking the town right now. So the party loses. The Dark Priest is summoned and and is standing before the party in a. The Dark Priest is summoned, but immediately calls for their weapons and armor. Now that the party is there, thanks for the help, but we need to get above ground before the monster reaches, before that evil thing destroys everyone you know. Something odd. Something odd may be tricky here because there's such a binary of like the summoning either occurs or doesn't, but let's give it a second. Maybe something will come to mind. What did you say that you said the whole thing collapses on them? Could always do that. Kind of neither. I think the Dark Priest was trying to do something good, but doing it in a bad way. I think the folly of the Dark Priest in this case was that they identified there was a threat. They basically probably like carried the one in the wrong place and thought it was imminent. Turns out they had a really long time to prepare. Summoning gets disrupted by the battle, but the encounter took too long. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe they're all unsuccessful, and the town is destroyed. Just looking at the dungeon, seeing if there's any other piece that I missed that could be interesting. I think something odd would be the Dark Priest soul enters the animated mace, assuming the party didn't destroy it, and will accompany the party against the and will accompany the party that way. Okay. That works. Suddenly being overtaken. It's a good example of that. Yeah, so that works. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. What if the ritual is interrupted, but instead of the priest not being summoned, the party is flung somewhere else, another plane? Could be. That would definitely be an odd thing. Yeah, so I'm excited. I think this could be a fun one shot, right? To be given like a set of scenarios, to be given like clues about what's going on at a cathedral, maybe some notes. I could see myself definitely drawing up some props and stuff like this. Yeah, Matisse, I think I can definitely make this a simple dungeon. You say for Patreon, as though the Patreon exists yet, but yes, in theory. I could also see this would be a really good one for testing out somebody like another crafter's dungeon tile system. That's the other reason that I want to have some dungeons like this, is because I have some interesting walls, I have some elevation, I have some trap walls. Like, I've got stuff that I can try to create in somebody else's system to see if I like that, and to test it out, to build it on stream, to build it in a longer form video, and to actually run it. But this would be fun. I could definitely run this. This would be cool. Neat. Well, thank you guys for indulging me. That was by the way, like, the other thing that this stream is good for is if anybody has any things that they are doing in their games, or D&D type things that they want help brainstorming in their games, like, this is a perfect place to do it. Like, that's kind of what this is all kind of built for. Normally we tackle like 2 or 3 different ideas, but I didn't know really how long it would take to sort of come up with a dungeon concept. But this one came together honestly pretty quick. Well, like 3 hours? That's not bad, honestly, especially for like laying something out that is actually kind of coherent. Matisse, run it on stream? I mean, eventually. Maybe not on stream, but eventually recorded for sure. Might just have to turn this into a short, even before it's anything else. Construct, you're still trying to hammer out your combat system. This is the one you were talking about with like called shots, right? I'm excited. YouTube in 4 days is going to supposedly, unless they change their plans, they're going to open up shorts to be 3 minutes long rather than 1 minute, which means that I could fit a lot more. Like, I could better explain a dungeon concept like this in 3 minutes than in 1 minute. Yeah, thanks, NH3. I'm glad. I mean, usually I drop these notes and stuff into like a, shared doc or something like that, which I can do, but at least that's what I do in theory. Huh. I should put the let me see here. I should return. It's been too long without the rightful gotta get this back on screen, because otherwise what am I doing? So Construct, what's the hang up on, or what kind of questions are you landing on with your combat system? Because I feel like we may have driven you away from some of the cooler ideas. Because there's nothing wrong with I think your concept, like there's nothing, I think it can be super fun. I might open up. I don't know. I've never really opened up preparing to fail for like suggestions before, but polls have been going well with other streams, so maybe I'll create one for that. Oh, okay. You just kind of stalled with it. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know either. I've never really tried any called shot sort of system before. Gotcha. Oh, okay. Sorry. So I'm misrepresenting it. It's not called, but there are effects depending on like where somebody's struck or like how they're hit. Like you can hit different parts of the body and have different effects, right? Makes sense. Thanks to Jesse V for being the newest brick in the wall. Skeleton for spooky month. Right now I'm thinking probably on the 15th of the month, is maybe on the 15th and the 30th. Those are the kind of the days of the month where I'll go through and sort of texture and rough up stones. So here in a couple days I'll do that. Stuck in the leg, you can't move as fast. Stuck in the arm, attack power goes down. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I wonder if part of the thanks, Kira. I also created next time we run into, this is just for you, Kira, just so you know, the next time people can't find how to support or how to get to the link in YouTube, which we've run into a couple of different times, I created a brick command. That way, if anybody asks specifically about that in YouTube, yeah, that even on mobile should take them directly to the join step, whether they have the button or not. Because that has come up a couple of times, and it's really annoying that YouTube doesn't make it obvious, but sorry, I had an idea. Construct. I wonder if you could turn attack and defense into like a mini little like bluff game of bluff, or not a mini game necessarily, but if you defined like Kira, it's a game changer. We'll see. I'm still working on an option on my site as well to accept subscription stuff outside of YouTube, just for folks that doesn't apply to, because we've run into that before too, or just people who'd rather do it through like kind of directly to me rather than YouTube. That's also an option. Technically, I think I would get more if it wasn't going through YouTube, but Construct, what if there was a thing where the defender and the attacker have, let's call it like five choices, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 choices, where it's like, no, I'd probably make it 5, like head, basically left and right, legs and arms, right? So there's like 5 quadrants on the body, and with any sort of hit, like you take a note, or it could be dice rolled, or you could just like deliberately say like, blocking high right, and then if the attacker is attacking high left, then that could like be a more impactful hit. It's not exactly calling shots, but it's almost like allowing you to sort of like, okay, where is the person defending versus where is the attack coming in? I wonder if something like that could work if it was like boiled down real simple. Maybe almost in like a rock paper scissors style, where it's like blocking above, blocking middle, blocking low, and then hitting high, hitting low, hitting in the middle. Like depending on where that was, different effects could come from it. That could be interesting to play around with. I've never tested anything like that before, but I'd give it a shot, especially in a a martial. Like that's the kind of thing that I would probably pull out for like a martial character's like one shot, or even like prologue. Like that could be a cool way to like train actually, or to sort of depict training happening. I think that could be interesting. Just an idea. Cool. Well, the music is done. Kind of an early night for stream to end, but we basically accomplished everything that I wanted to. And believe it or not, I've been off my game making videos for so long. I got to make a short for tomorrow. Get back on the wagon and get the content churning. So I think I may go work on that. Maybe it'll be this dungeon. Who knows? But hopefully you guys can find out tomorrow. Man, the voice is giving out. Clearly I haven't done these in a while. Maybe next time for this stream, do some monster designs, maybe do some weapons. Be fun to do some, to kind of revisit some of those our favorite. I could, yeah, you're right, I could. And as soon as I figure out how to capture on stream the process of me making shorts, I'll do that too. But I haven't figured out how to do that well yet. I don't have enough cameras to allow that to happen, but that's on the list. No, the other one I want to revisit is we've had some really interesting ideas in the past around like complex magic systems, and I'd like to tinker around with that. What else? Got some journals to work on. That's a little bit more on the crafty side of things, but yep. Tons on the way. Tons of variety. Hopefully more and more time that I can carve out of my life to be creative with folks and be streaming and be making stuff. I'd do it all the time if I could. So, but otherwise, I think that's it. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks Triforce, Kira, Construct, Matisse, everybody. Oh, if you didn't check it out, I think a lot of you did see it, but the short with the Shadow Box of Doom is up. I'll probably take some more detailed photos and get those into the Discord. Yeah. thanks everybody. Good night to all of you. Enjoy your Friday and the end of the week. See you on H3. Triforce, thank you. Good night, good night, good night. See you guys. Till tomorrow night, we'll play some Outer Wilds. Have a good one, everybody. Never, Kira. Never.